Hello, student. Welcome to week 9, in which we um, address the question whether state funding should be provided to religious schools. In Ontario, of course, the situation currently is that only Catholic schools are provided such support, and actually, in one of the themes this week, you are required to address this. In the readings, you see that while in several countries, most notably probably the US, there is a quite clear separation between church, broadly understood church, and state, and therefore lack of at least direct funding for religious schools. The readings this week, at least two of them, take issue with this basic position, although they do that in different degrees. We tackle the funding questions also by looking at interculturalism versus multiculturalism. And as I mentioned, we do it through a critical look at the situation in Ontario. So, two out of the three readings are embedded in the American context, Feinberg and Mary, but still those papers are philosophical one, and we will focus on the philosophical arguments there, and the third reading by Maxwell et al. Is within a Canadian context, particularly Quebec, but we will use it also to reflect on what's going on in Ontario. So the two themes. One is entitled "Reasons for Funding Religious Schools." So Feinberg in 2000 and Mary 2007 challenged the quite common argument against funding religious schools. What I'm asking you to do is, for each of these papers, to explain one reason the author offers for providing or not rejecting state funding to religious schools, and but also to critique this reason, whether you agree or not. So the critique can be positive or negative, but explain why you agree or don't agree. In your critique, you can assess, for example, the assumptions behind the reason or the empirical situation that the reason is based on. I mean, what actually is happening. The second theme, interculturalism and the Ontario situation, focuses mostly on Maxwell et al. 2012, in which the authors compare multiculturalism and interculturalism as kind of competing frameworks for diversity and social justice. So in this paper, the authors argue that interculturalism is preferred framework for addressing the dilemma around state funding and regulation of conservative religious schools. They attach there, you will see, funding and regulation. What I'm asking you to do is using the argument in this paper to reflect on the questions about funding religious schools, particularly in Ontario. Do you think that the government should extend funding not just to Catholic schools but to all religious schools equally. Or perhaps you think that the government should withhold such funding altogether, or maybe just to keep the situation as is, to keep the status quo. You are welcome to integrate also arguments from the other readings, for example, regarding the question of how high the wall of separation between church and state should be, as Feinberg put it, or the issue whether religious schools to be considered a private, or the whole distinction between private and public. So those are the readings, those are the themes, and I wish you good luck with this week discussions. Bye bye.